Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for being here with me on the surface of the sun for this presentation. We're here today to talk about Gen Z, as you can see. John Pork is calling me there. I'll get to that in a second. Now, let's start with the very basics. What does Gen Z actually stand for? Well, the truth is, we don't know. But based on my research, I've narrowed it down to either Glow Up Zendaya, Gender Fluid Zin, or Jennifer Aniston. But while we may not know what Gen Z stands for, we do know a little bit about them, and that brings us to the crucial question, who the hell am I, and why should you care? Well, my name is Benedict Townsend. There I am. That's me last year. I present a show called Scroll Deep, used to be known as YouTuber News. I'm very proud to say the show has millions of followers across social media, including 2 million followers on Snapchat alone. In fact, it was very proudly one of the very first shows in the UK on Snapchat Discover, a relationship we still very much continue. It's been extremely lucrative for everyone involved, except me, because I don't own the show, but that's a different presentation. This is a recent episode we did where I asked who would win in a fight, 100 men or a gorilla. You can mull on that as the presentation continues. Now, I must say we are entering the generalization zone. Gen Z, of course, it's an entire generation of people. You shouldn't make wild generalizations about them. They're different people with different interests, different beliefs. It feels wrong to generalize them. But for the sake of time in this presentation, that is precisely what I'm going to be doing. So if you are Gen Z and you don't feel represented by this, I apologize, but we can't be here all day. So let's start with some main facts about Gen Z, including probably the most crucial one. Gen Z are not millennials. Despite being similar in age and interest and passions, they are quite distinct from millennials in lots of crucial ways. And one of the most relevant ones is when it comes to online ads. Crucially speaking, millennials, not a big fan of online ads. Zoomers, weirdly okay with them. They don't love them, but they broadly understand that ads are part of the online ecosystem. In a very simple way, they have only grown up in an online world. They have only ever known a world with the internet and a world where the internet is funded by ads. And so they accept it in the way that we would accept, for example, ads on TV. I say we the great elders. They may even be happy for you as a creator. I did a project recently about Vine, which was sort of TikTok before TikTok. And back in the day, this was like 2014 or whatever, when Viners would do ads, when they do brand deals, they would just be torn apart. They'd be called sellouts. People would be so mad for them, doing these deals. Now, if you do a deal on social media, you will literally get comments from people that are like, secure the bag, good for you, get that money. Like the kids understand that if they want creators and if they want online brands, they have to make money some way. So actually, you are entering more of a friendly environment than you may think when it comes to advertising. This is a genuine comment I got on a piece of branded content. It says, if you can't read it, it says, wait, was this your idea or theirs? Because this is a perfect promotion of a brand date via an influencer's known content. God, I wish every comment I got was like that. That's crazy. A real person left that comment. So I don't want to tread on any toes. I don't want to insult any existing brands. So I went away to some consultants and to some designers and spent a lot of money coming up with a test brand. This is what they delivered me. This is Klempt. This is a multinational specializing in toilet rolls, household goods, and small arms. The small arms they put on Barbie dolls. And I will be using them as the test brand for all of this. We'll be applying Klempt to the wisdoms I'm going to bestow upon you. For example, the first one with a bullet. Authenticity. This is the name of the game when it comes to Gen Z. Authenticity is everything. And you may think this is restrictive, but actually there's freedom in this. You can do whatever you want as long as it feels authentic to you. Or at the baseline, just not very obviously cynical. Take our friends at Klempt here. If they had decided that last year was Klempt summer, this is incredibly inauthentic. It's got nothing to do with Brat Summer. It's got nothing to do with Klempt, a brand we all know and love. Green is not even part of their brand or identity. This is nothing. This is just a brand shamelessly jumping on a trend in an aimless way. And Gen Z would, at best, totally ignore this, at worst, find it actively annoying. You'd be better taking the trend and subverting it in some way that applies to you, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Next up, Gen Z do not want to be pandered to. Yes, I know I should be saying Gen Z, but it's too British even for me. We're going Gen Z. If authenticity is the North Star with Gen Z, pandering is the depths of hell. They do not want to be pandered to. How do I, a 31-year-old man, produce a show that is consistently popular with Gen Z? Is it because I really understand them and I've made myself one of them and I speak their language? No, it's because I do not even try. They do not want you to be one of them. They are already one of them. They want you to be you and do a good job of being you. And so you don't want to be running in being like, actually, this brand is bae. Oh my God, Klempt is so sick, right? Especially, when it comes specifically to slang, because the shelf life of slang is so short anyway, that unless you can have a ridiculously fast turnaround, or you're willing to be like really fun and ironic, it's just not worth it. If our friends at Klempt, for example, decided that they were really chuggy, that would be incredibly cringe. And if you don't know what chuggy means, exactly. Honesty. You can be honest about advertising with Gen Z. As I said, they're not against it conceptually. If you're doing an ad, just tell them you're doing an ad. They resent the idea of being tricked by an ad more than they resent the idea of an ad itself, right? You might think, we're going to make a really fun, colorful, exciting piece of content, and then halfway through, wow, this amazing piece of content was actually an ad. Isn't that amazing? No, they hate that. They hate that. You've tricked them into watching an ad. Just tell them up front it's an ad, and then they'll be like, wow, this ad is pretty good. When we do ads on Scroll Deep, the show I do, I will say, I'm going to do an ad for you now, or this is brought to you by this brand, and they will accept that. And once you admit it's an ad, you also open yourself up to sort of subvert it and be fun with it and play with it, because an ironic ad, ultimately, is still an ad. It still gets the job done. Which brings us to irreverence. Gen Z have a very irreverent, silly sense of humor. I mean, all young people do. Gen X had a silly sense of humor when they were young. Millennials had a very random sense of humor. Gen Z do as well. It's what young people do. But of course, it compounds with each subsequent generation to the point where, this is considered a funny meme by Gen Z. You need 9 layers of context to even understand what's going on here. And even the concept that this is funny is itself kind of ironic. But you can be irreverent, you can be kind of rebellious in your ad. You want them to go wow, I didn't think they would do this, or wow, I didn't think an ad would go to this place. And there's lots of ways you can do this. One way is to look at the platform you're on and try and match the vibe, right? We have this phrase, social media, which I think is a real misnomer. Most social media sites are not social media sites. TikTok is not a social media. They would not describe themselves as social media. TikTok is a creator platform. Whereas, off the top of my head, I don't even know, I guess maybe Snapchat, for example. Snapchat is a social platform because Snapchat is somewhere you communicate with your friends, with your family. And so if you tailor the content, as we do, to the platform, they will accept that and they will encourage that. Scroll Deep, the show I do, it feels like a conversation between friends, between me and the viewer. It's obviously quite a one-sided conversation, but I prefer it that way. Every joke that I make on Scroll Deep is an in-joke because every video is a conversation between friends. And if you can match the energy of the platform and match the irreverence of the platform, they'll reward you for that. And we mentioned it before. You think you're warm. There are so many lights on me right now. It is so hot, but I am very glad to be here. Thank you very much. As I said earlier, don't chase trends, subvert them. Don't just blindly blunder your way into the trend. Go, how can I, 1, change the trend, and 2, change the trend to fit me? What you want to think of, this is the North Star, if something has become a trend, that basically means it's already done, right? That means it's already been completed. If we've already, as a group, accepted that this is a trend, that means that that is finished, and you need to do a full stop and go, let's create a new branch. That can be as simple as involving your brand in a parody of a thing. This was a video from an Australian skincare company that went super viral. It was these girls taking part in this sort of dance trend. All of them work for this company. And it was also a weird flashpoint for right-wing men online, but that is a whole other presentation. It was very strange. But they just did this dance. They didn't mention the product. They didn't mention the name of the company. They did massive sales off the back of this because it was authentic to them. It was fun, it was feminine, it was a skincare company. It was true to them, it was fun. They even named a product after the video. They named a bundle after it. They got huge sales. They took a thing, they made it their own, and ultimately they turned it into Cold hard profit, baby. Values. Now, this is one of the most discussed things about Gen Z. Gen Z is a generation that cares very deeply about things. I think it's one of the best things about Gen Z. They don't all care about the same things, but they care about things very deeply, and they care if you care about things. But I do think there are some common pitfalls you can fall into, right? So, for example, you're a toilet paper company. Are people crying out to hear your thoughts about fracking, for example? They're probably not. You don't necessarily need to wade into that. But if you're going to do it, if you're going to wade in, you've got to commit. You have to do it properly. It is so much worse to half-arse it than to not do it at all. If our friends at Klempt decided that this was Klempt loves the whales summer, and Klempt is going to save some whales, they better save some fucking whales, all right? You can't just post this once and then move on, because Gen Z will be in your comments forever going, hey, what about the whales? Hey, I thought you guys were going to save the whales, right? You can't just change your profile picture for Whale Month and then at the end of Whale Month change it back. Do you know what I mean? You've got to live the whale lifestyle. But I think the lesson people have taken is that, brands and companies, they shouldn't involve themselves in social issues, or, people don't want to see that anymore. I don't think that's true. I think people really like that, and I think they'll reward that, especially Gen Z. But you have to commit, and you have to do it properly. And this is an easy tip. Hire some Gen Z. It's good to have the people around that you are trying to advertise to. Plus, they need the money, okay? Rent is high. Vapes are expensive. I have 2 Gen Z colleagues who work with me on Scroll Deep, and they are amazing. They're amazing at the actual jobs they're paid to do, but they're also amazing as a sounding board. I can check in with them. Does this make sense to you? Is this relatable to you? If you're trying to appeal to a group of people, it doesn't hurt to have some of those people around. And now, obviously, I've put a lot of information your way. I've kind of maybe bombarded you, so I've come up with this nice, easy acronym that you can use to remember everything I've taught you today. So you need to remember Gen Z. Generate fun content. Engage with the audience. Know your audience. Keep things authentic. Keep things authentic. If you can remember Gen Z, you'll be great. I'm Benedict Townsend, and for the love of God, have a Klempt summer. Thank you very much.